In 1932, Jung treated a woman, the family black sheep, who'd been exiled by her relatives for refusing to stay silent about her father's alcoholism. They called her dramatic, disloyal, the problem. But Jung told her something that changed everything. You're not the problem, you're the immune system. Every family has one member whose nervous system won't tolerate the family's lies. That person becomes the scapegoat, not because they're broken, but because they're awake. And families need the black sheep to survive, even when they're trying to destroy them. If you've been labeled the problem child, the oversensitive one, the troublemaker who won't just let things go, you're not broken, you're the black sheep. And Jung discovered that black sheep play the most critical role in family healing through 5 specific mechanisms. But most black sheep never learn to use this role strategically, so they suffer the burden without accessing the power. This woman's transformation with Jung reveals exactly how black sheep function as the family's unconscious truth teller, and why understanding these mechanisms changes everything. The woman who walked into Jung's Zürich practice in 1932, we'll call her Anna, had been cast out by her family 6 months earlier. At a family dinner, she'd mentioned her father's drinking, not accusingly, just factually. Father's been drinking more lately. The table went silent. Then her mother stood up. How dare you embarrass this family? Get out! Anna was 28, had never lived outside her family home. That night, she was banished. Her siblings stopped speaking to her. She became the cautionary tale. Look what happens when you betray the family. She came to Jung confused. I only spoke the truth. Everyone knows father drinks. Why am I being punished for saying what everyone already knows? You're not being punished for speaking the truth. You're being punished for breaking the family's agreement to pretend. That makes you the most dangerous person in the system, because you're the immune system detecting the infection. The immune system mechanism, the first of 5 ways black sheep function in family systems. The black sheep isn't the sick one. They're the one whose nervous system refuses to tolerate the family's shared delusion. Every family operates on explicit rules. Be respectful, work hard, and implicit contracts. Don't mention father's drinking. Don't talk about mother's affairs. Pretend everything is fine. The black sheep is born with, or develops, a nervous system that cannot comply with the implicit contract. They process information more deeply, notice subtleties others miss, feel emotional incongruence intensely. Not because they're rebellious, but because their system registers the discrepancy between what's said and what's true. Research on highly sensitive people by Dr. Elaine Aron confirms this. Approximately 20% of the population has a more reactive nervous system. In healthy families, this sensitivity is an asset. In dysfunctional families, it makes the child dangerous because they notice the lies the family depends on. Anna described it. I always felt the tension under polite conversations, mother's smile never reaching her eyes when father was drinking. I thought something was wrong with me, that I was seeing things that weren't there. You weren't seeing things that weren't there. You were seeing things everyone else was pretending weren't there. Your nervous system was functioning correctly. Theirs had adapted to function in denial. The black sheep isn't oversensitive. They're accurately sensitive. The rest of the family has numbed their sensitivity to tolerate the dysfunction, but the black sheep system won't numb. When Anna finally spoke at that family dinner, it was her system's emergency mechanism, like a fever rising to kill an infection. But the family saw it as contract violation. And the punishment for contract violation is exile. Someone must detect the infection. The black sheep's nervous system does this automatically, involuntarily. They're the family's diagnostic tool. You're not the problem. You're the alarm system. And the family is trying to destroy the alarm because they don't want to face the fire. Without the black sheep, the family's dysfunction continues unchallenged. passed to the next generation. The black sheep disrupts this transmission, not by choice, but by constitution. If your family calls you too sensitive or dramatic, comment, "I'm the immune system," because recognizing the immune system role is just the beginning. The second mechanism reveals why the family must scapegoat you to protect itself. 3 months into therapy, Anna asked the question that tormented her every night. Why do they hate me? I'm their daughter, their sister. Why do they treat me like the enemy? She'd been replaying the exile, her mother's face, her siblings' silence, the extended family's whispers, all of it aimed at her like she'd committed an unforgivable sin. I spoke one sentence, one truth everyone already knew, and they made me the villain. They don't hate you, Jung said carefully. They hate what you represent, the truth they've organized their entire lives around avoiding. To keep avoiding it, they must make you the problem, the scapegoat mechanism. Anna had heard the family narrative since her exile. It reached her through cousins, through old friends, through the whispers that always made their way back. The story her family told about her. Everything was fine until Anna started causing drama. She's always been difficult, oversensitive, stirring up trouble. If she would just stop bringing up the past, we could all be happy. She recited it to Jung almost mechanically. She'd heard it so many times it had started to feel true. Notice what that narrative accomplishes, Jung said. Anna went quiet, thinking. Then her eyes widened. It erases father's alcoholism as the problem, and replaces it with me as the problem. Exactly. The infection disappears. The alarm system becomes the disease. The scapegoat mechanism protects the family from having to change, because acknowledging the real problem would require the entire system to reorganize. Father would have to get sober. Mother would have to stop enabling. The siblings would have to admit they've been complicit in the denial. That's too much change, too much shame, too much work. So instead, make the black sheep the problem, exile them, and suddenly the family can breathe. We're not dysfunctional, we just had one bad apple. After Anna's exile, her mother told relatives, "We've had such peace since Anna left. She was always stirring up conflict. Now we can finally be a normal family." The mechanism inverted reality. Anna's absence didn't heal the family. It just removed the person, forcing them to see the wound. The alcoholism continued. The denial deepened. But now they could pretend it was fine, because the problem was gone. The scapegoat carries the family's shadow. All the dysfunction they won't acknowledge, they project onto you. They say you're angry, but you're carrying their unacknowledged rage. They say you're divisive, but you're exposing the divisions that already exist. Shadow projection in family systems. The family develops a collective shadow, aspects of reality they cannot consciously acknowledge. The black sheep becomes the repository for this shadow, not because they're actually more flawed, but because their refusal to participate in denial makes them the perfect screen for projection. Alice Miller, the renowned psychologist who wrote The Drama of the Gifted Child, was the black sheep of her own family, the first to name multi-generational trauma in her lineage. Her family rejected her work, called her disloyal. Miller wrote, "The person who tells what the body knows becomes the enemy." She was scapegoated for truth-telling, but transformed the scapegoat role into her life's work, helping other black sheep understand they weren't the problem. Anna began seeing her family's attacks differently. When her mother sent letters, calling her ungrateful and selfish, Anna recognized she's projecting. She's ungrateful for the daughters who covered for father. She's selfish for prioritizing appearances over her children's well-being. But she can't face that, so she projects it onto me. When her siblings called her the one who tears the family apart, Anna understood. The family was already torn apart by alcoholism and denial. I just named the tier that was already there. The scapegoat mechanism protects the family, but destroys the scapegoat. Because when you're told you're the problem your entire life, you start to believe it. You internalize the family's projection. Anna told Jung 6 months into therapy, "I spent 28 years thinking I was defective. Now I understand. My family needed me to be defective. It was a role I was assigned, not a truth about who I am." Anna spent 28 years thinking she was defective. If you've believed the same lie, comment below. Your recognition helps others see they're not alone. Because the scapegoat mechanism reveals something crucial. When the symptom becomes conscious of its function, it can stop playing the role. But the family won't let go easily. The third mechanism reveals why they escalate their attacks when you try to break free. You have until Christmas to decide. Come, or you're done. No more contact. Anna read her mother's letter aloud in Jung's office, hands shaking. Month 9. The ultimatum had arrived. She looked up. "I told her I won't attend family events unless father gets help for his drinking. She called me cruel. Said I'm destroying the family. Now she's giving me a deadline. Show up to Christmas and pretend everything's fine, or I'm permanently exiled." Her voice cracked. "Why is setting a boundary destroying the family? I'm just asking them to acknowledge reality. Because your boundary shatters their equilibrium. The moment the scapegoat refuses the role, the family escalates. You're now the destabilizer, and destabilizers threaten the system's survival. The destabilizer mechanism, when the black sheep's healing exposes how sick the system actually is. Here's what happened. As long as Anna played the scapegoat, the family was stable. Dysfunctional, but stable. Everyone knew their role. Father drank, mother enabled, siblings stayed silent. Anna carried the blame. But the moment Anna refused to carry the blame, the equilibrium shattered. Without Anna to blame, where does the dysfunction go? Family systems resist change with the same intensity organisms resist disease. When one member changes, the system experiences destabilization and fights to restore the original pattern. Anna experienced this immediately after setting her boundary. Her mother called daily. Monday, guilt. "How can you do this to us, after everything we've done for you?" Wednesday, threat. "If you don't come to Christmas, you're no longer part of this family." Friday, gaslighting. "You're remembering things wrong. Father's drinking was never that bad." Her siblings joined in. Her brother, "You're being selfish. Can't you just let it go? We're all fine." Her sister, "Why do you always have to make everything difficult? Just show up and pretend like the rest of us." Notice what happened. Anna's boundary, "won't attend unless father gets help," became Anna's problem, selfish, difficult. The family system fighting for its survival. Because if they acknowledge Anna's boundary is reasonable, they have to acknowledge father's drinking is unreasonable, and that would mean the entire system needs to change. Her entire extended family received a narrative. Anna is having a breakdown. She's seeing a psychologist who's putting crazy ideas in her head. She's threatening to destroy Christmas unless we do what she says. Anna's reasonable boundary became crazy ideas and destroying Christmas. The destabilization is blamed on the destabilizer, not on the dysfunction. James Baldwin, who spoke truths about race that made both his family and country uncomfortable, understood this intimately. He was attacked for forcing others to face what they wanted to deny. In session, Jung told Anna, "They're not attacking you because you're wrong. They're attacking you because you're right, and being right threatens their entire reality. Most families choose denial." The ultimatum forced Anna to a crisis. Preserve herself or preserve the system. She wrote her mother back, "I love you, but I will not participate in pretending father's alcoholism doesn't exist. I'm not trying to destroy the family. I'm trying to stop the destruction that's already happening. My boundary stands." Her mother's response came within 24 hours. "You are no longer my daughter." Anna read the letter in Jung's office. "I knew this would happen, but it still feels like dying." It is dying. The version of you that existed to keep them comfortable is dying, but the real you is finally being born. Sometimes the family cannot be healed from within. Sometimes the only way to stop the dysfunction from destroying you is to leave. And that leaving isn't abandonment, it's survival. Because destabilizers don't just threaten the family. They threaten themselves if they stay in a system that requires their self-destruction for its stability. Anna's exile was painful, but it activated the fourth mechanism, the one that transforms the black sheep from victim to healer. If your healing threatens your family's denial, the system will escalate. That escalation isn't proof you're wrong, it's proof you're powerful. Comment which family tactic you've experienced: guilt, recruitment of allies, or threatened exile. Because recognizing you're destabilizing doesn't mean you're wrong. It means the system can't tolerate your growth. The fourth mechanism reveals how to transform that crisis into liberation. 18 months after her exile, Anna walked into Jung's office with different energy. Not broken, not bitter, clear. "I'm not going back, not because I hate them, but because I finally understand. I can't break the pattern from inside it. I have to break it by living differently myself." The pattern breaker mechanism. The black sheep who stops trying to fix the family and starts interrupting the cycle through their own transformation. Now the real work begins. You've moved from reacting to the family system to creating a new system. This is where the black sheep's power actually lives, not in changing them, but in refusing to repeat them. The work wasn't about healing the family, it was about Anna healing herself, so the pattern died with her. She began tracing the pattern back. Your father's alcoholism didn't start with him. His father drank, his grandfather drank. Each generation told themselves they were different, but they repeated the pattern. And alongside the alcoholism, another pattern: silence. Anna's eyes widened. My grandmother was called difficult by her family. My great-aunt was estranged for causing problems. I'm not the first black sheep. I'm the latest in a lineage of women who couldn't stay silent. You're the culmination of failed attempts, every black sheep, before you tried to speak and was silenced. You're the one who finally refuses the silence. That's why the pattern can end with you. The pattern breaker doesn't just avoid the family. They actively choose opposite responses in their own life. Anna noticed her instinct to numb uncomfortable emotions with work, her mother's pattern; to avoid conflict at all costs, her siblings' pattern; to make herself small to keep peace, her own learned pattern. Each time these instincts arose, she paused. Is this mine or theirs? Do I actually want to work 12 hours today? Or am I avoiding feeling lonely? Do I actually think this conflict isn't worth having? Or am I afraid of being called difficult again? Conscious interruption, catching the inherited pattern in the moment it wants to execute and choosing differently. She practiced saying what she actually felt, even when it made others uncomfortable. Practiced letting herself be seen as difficult when she set boundaries. Practiced choosing truth over harmony. Each time I do this, I feel my grandmother's presence, like she's saying, "Thank you for speaking what I couldn't." She wrote the true story, not the sanitized version her family told outsiders, but the actual experience. Father's alcoholism, mother's enabling, the siblings' complicity, her own scapegoating, all of it. This documentation validates your experience against the family's gaslighting. When they say it wasn't that bad, you have evidence it was. And it creates a record for future generations. If you have children, they won't grow up confused like you did. Virginia Woolf, who was called mad for naming her family's abuse, transformed her documentation into literature that freed countless readers who recognized their own family dysfunction in her words. Anna's documentation became her liberation. Every time doubt crept in, maybe I was too harsh, she read her own account. The evidence was clear. Her choice to break it was justified. The hardest work, accepting that the family may never change. Anna spent months hoping her transformation would wake her family up. If I can just explain it clearly enough, maybe then they'll see. They may never see, and your healing cannot depend on their awakening. The pattern breaker must release the family to their own choices and focus solely on ending the cycle within themselves. Grief work, mourning the family she'd never have, the mother who might never acknowledge the truth, the father who might never get sober, the siblings who might never break their own denial. I'm not giving up on them. I'm giving up on the fantasy that my healing will heal them. My healing heals me and anyone I might have children with, anyone I might mentor, anyone who sees my life and realizes the pattern can be broken. By month 18, she'd completed the pattern breaker phase, identified the inherited patterns, consciously interrupted them, documented truth, released the rescue fantasy. I feel whole in a way I never have, not because my family accepted me, but because I finally accepted myself. The pattern dies with me. That's enough. But there was one final mechanism Jung hadn't yet revealed, the most surprising one of all. Which inherited pattern are you consciously interrupting? Comment the one that's hardest to break. Work addiction, conflict avoidance, making yourself small, emotional numbing. Your answer helps others identify their own, because breaking the pattern frees you, but the fifth mechanism reveals how it secretly frees your family too, even when they never admit it. 2 years after beginning therapy, Anna received an unexpected letter. Her younger sister had left the family. After you left, I kept defending mother and father, kept saying you were wrong, but last month, father got arrested for drunk driving. Mother still denied there was a problem, and I realized you were right. You've always been right. I don't know if you'll ever forgive us, but I needed you to know what you did freed me. You showed me it was possible to leave, so I'm leaving too. Thank you for being brave when I couldn't be. Anna read the letter to Jung, crying. I never imagined. The liberation mechanism. The black sheep who saves themselves gives permission for others to be saved. You don't heal the family by staying and sacrificing yourself. You heal the family by leaving and showing there's another way. The paradox that freeing yourself from the family system creates the possibility of freedom for others. The mechanism works invisibly. While Anna's family attacked her, she was creating the blueprint for their liberation, not by fixing them, not by explaining the patterns, but by embodying an alternative. You can leave, and you can survive, and you can thrive. Her sister watched from inside the system, saw Anna leave, saw the family's attacks, saw Anna not return, not apologize, not crumble. And slowly, the sister began to question. What if Anna isn't crazy? When one family member individuates, becomes their full, authentic self, it creates pressure on the system. The family must either evolve or intensify dysfunction. Most families intensify first, but over time, cracks appear. Other family members start questioning. They've seen that leaving is survivable, and they wonder, could I leave too? Anna's sister wasn't the only one. 3 years later, her brother called. I'm in AA, father's alcoholism. I think I have it too. Your leaving made me look at what I was drinking to avoid seeing. Just wanted you to know. The black sheep who saves themselves often catalyzes transformation in siblings, even when parents remain unchanged. This doesn't mean Anna's parents changed. They didn't. Father's drinking escalated, mother's enabling deepened, but their hold over the children loosened, because Anna proved the family's threat was hollow. If you leave, you'll be destroyed. Anna left. Anna wasn't destroyed. Therefore, the threat loses power. When Alice Miller published her work, her family rejected it, but millions found the liberation they'd been denied in their own families. The liberation mechanism operates through pathways: modeling possibility, leaving is survivable, breaking the silence, naming truth gives others permission, exposing the choice, connection isn't destiny, and creating developmental pressure. Absence destabilizes the system permanently. Anna saw all pathways activate. Her sister left. Her brother acknowledged father's alcoholism. Extended family members quietly questioned the narrative. The family's dynamics destabilized permanently. I thought leaving was selfish. I thought staying and trying to fix them was love. But now I see, leaving was the most loving thing I could do, not just for me, for all of us, because I showed them they could leave too. The black sheep's greatest gift to the family isn't their presence, it's their absence. Not because they're abandoning the family, but because they're liberating it from the chains it insisted on wearing. The paradox families never understand. The black sheep they exile is often their only hope for healing. Not because the black sheep fixes the system from within, but because their departure shatters the illusion that the system is sustainable. Some family members follow the black sheep into freedom. Others stay in denial until death. But the black sheep's job isn't to save everyone. It's to save themselves, and by doing so, make salvation possible for those ready to receive it. You're not the problem the family needs to eliminate. You're the solution the family refuses to see. And the tragedy is that by the time they recognize your value, you may be so free, you no longer need their recognition. Anna smiled. I already don't need it, but I'm grateful they gave me no choice but to find freedom. Being the black sheep felt like a curse. Now I see it was a calling. The 5 mechanisms. Summarized. Mechanism 1. The immune system. Black sheep have nervous systems that detect family dysfunction others deny, making them essential diagnostic tools. Mechanism 2. The scapegoat. Families project their collective shadow onto the black sheep to avoid facing actual problems, making the truth teller into the problem. Mechanism 3. The destabilizer. When black sheep stop accepting the scapegoat role, their growth threatens family equilibrium, triggering escalated attacks. Mechanism 4. The pattern breaker. Black sheep who leave the system and refuse to repeat the patterns interrupt generational cycles, ending what couldn't be healed from within. Mechanism 5. The liberation. By saving themselves, black sheep create templates of freedom that give other family members permission to leave or change. If you're the family, black sheep, you're not the problem. You're the immune system, the truth teller, the one whose healing makes everyone else's denial impossible to maintain. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's the family's last hope for transformation. But you can't transform them by staying and sacrificing yourself. You transform the system by leaving and showing there's life outside the prison they built. Your exile isn't failure. It's the beginning of freedom. Yours first, then anyone brave enough to follow. Subscribe for more explorations of Jungian psychology and family systems. Comment which mechanism you're currently in. Your recognition helps others name their own experience. And remember Jung's final teaching. The black sheep's burden is that they see the truth before anyone else. The black sheep's power is that they can't unsee it, and that inability to unsee eventually sets them free. You're not broken. You're awake, and your family needs you to stay awake, even if they can't admit it until you're gone. Thanks for watching. See you in the next dimension.